Hello, my emotional wisdom community. And outside, if you hear noise in the background, it's the cars driving by making noise. Today's live is storytelling. I have a story for you guys to ultimately achieve perspective. That is the objective of this live, is for perspective. Hopefully, if something like this happened to you, or if a incident that really hurt your feelings happened to you, where you're still carrying that experience with you, use my story as a reference to introspect and to achieve resolution or some form of awareness. Because I was thinking about this story and this incident that happened to me, which I was in my lowest moments in my life. And this thing that happened to me was it could have broken me to the degree where I could have essentially taken my life, really. But I didn't. I understood that the law of mirroring, the law of attraction. I understand that whatever we're aligned with, there's something to be understood there. And it is indeed a reflection of what's happening internally. And I do share this with my clients, and also I apply this to myself. And so the story that I'm about to share with you is indeed an indication and an example of how what I teach, I apply this to myself all the time. I literally try to walk my talk. It's very important for me to be in alignment. Whatever my emotions are feeling, I like to honor them, and I like to be just be in alignment and in tune with myself. But anyway, I was at the lowest in my life, and I was at my second dark night of the soul, or dark night of the ego, as I like to call it. And it's very interesting because I had came back from my project that I was a part of, the nonprofit organization that we were trying to establish in Mexico. When I got back from Mexico, I felt a little bit better, but yet I was still in my dark night of the ego. So I was very sensitive. All that to say is that I was very, very sensitive to things, and whatever would happen to me, I felt still like I was swimming against a current, like things were happening to me, not for me. That's the truth of the matter. So anyway, also what makes this story very interesting is that it involves a self-help teacher, so to speak, or a self-help guide. And it's interesting because you would think that this doesn't really happen in these places, these self-help workshops. And it happened to me. And it happened on a very, very large, uncomfortable scale. At this very moment, I was aware that whatever I'm manifesting, whatever that is happening before me, is a reflection of what's happening internally. And it's an opportunity. Essentially, it's an opportunity to introspect and to heal and to become self-aware enough to where you're integrating, right? You're healing childhood traumas. And how can we heal something if they don't surface, right? How are we expecting to heal something that we're not aware of? Not until, the wound or the discord or this pattern, dysfunctional pattern surfaces again, right? Through a painful experience or an uncomfortable experience, could we then decode the dysfunctional pattern behind it, okay, right? So it obviously takes for us to encounter that pattern, that reoccurring pattern all over again, so we can finally have the ability to become aware of it and essentially root it back, reference it back to where it all began, and create resolution, right? Okay, so again, this incident that happened to me happened at a self-help workshop, and it was with a supposed self-help teacher, guide, if you will, instructor. And it was very uncomfortable. So I took this workshop 2 months, give or take, after I got back from Mexico. It was when I was away for a year and 3 months or so, trying to fulfill the project, a nonprofit that we were trying to establish in Mexico. I was talking to a friend of mine. She invited me to this self-help workshop. She said, we should go and check it out, see what it's all about. So I accompanied her, and I was essentially convinced to take the 4-day, it was a 4-day workshop, and a whole day worth of activities and techniques and so forth, right? And there was a good solid 50, 60 people that were in this workshop, okay? And at first it was very, very uplifting. Also, I was trying to look for answers. I remember that I said to myself, if this opportunity, right, is coming to my presence, if this opportunity is being manifested before me, then there's something to receive here. And so I followed the call. The first day was good. The second day was when it started getting very uncomfortable. But one of those days, I was asked to go in front of everyone. Okay, mind you, this is a full house. This is a workshop that had many attendees, okay? Many eyes looking at you. So the assignment of this was to share with everyone and express what your goals are, what your aspirations are, what you want to achieve. And the goal is for it to come from an honest, authentic space. Well, it ended up being my turn to go up there. And the teacher, the guide, essentially stopped me and was mocking me. She thought she was being effective, and apparently they have an approach to try to break someone from character or something. But she began mocking me. Almost, I felt bullying. That was the energy. It was a bully energy, and an energy of bluntly in front of everyone, indicating that I seemed like I was ready to receive an Oscar because of course I'm very elaborate and I'm very expressive and I can be dramatic, you know. I've been told I can be a good actor because of how dramatic I can be. And so, but she proceeded to speak negatively and saying that it sounds like I'm fake, essentially, that it sounds like I'm fake and that I'm performing and that I could essentially win an Oscar for my performance. And then she proceeded to say that she guarantees that I'm selfish and that she also can assure me, and she could bet on the idea that, on the fact that I've never helped no one, that I always was looking out for myself, that I'm the person, essentially a narcissist, just to self-gratify, just to provide and gain for my own personal, benefit at others' expense. I was blown away when she was saying this. And then she proceeded to involve the class, the individuals, the rest of the attendees. Like, for example, do you see this, everyone? Do you see what I'm able to see? That she appears to be a very selfish person, only looking out for herself, and that she can basically guarantee that I've never done anything for anyone. Mind you, I was confused because I just had gotten back from Mexico working on a nonprofit. No one paid me to do this. I wasn't getting compensated. This was all happening from pure inspiration and a call that I had within. So when I'm hearing this woman say that I'm very selfish and that she guarantees that I have done nothing for no one outside, no one, I was like, actually, no, that's not true. She didn't let me speak. She stopped me and said, see, you're justifying yourself. You're justifying. All you're doing is justifying. And again, proceeded to involve the rest of the attendees there. And everyone began to get on board with her. Like, they also appeared in the beginning confused. Like, whoa, the teacher, the instructor seems very aggressive. At first, they were all kind of like confused and thrown off. But then they were like, yeah, you're right. So you can tell that slowly with time, people were agreeing, really, without really understanding what they were agreeing. They were just, someone gets brainwashed. Like, it's sad because she was supposed to be, they agreed with her because they assumed that she was in the right. They assumed that she was able to see something that they couldn't see. And the moment that she manipulated the situation for them to see what she wanted, or what she was saying she was seeing in me, everyone just began to be convinced. And so it was very, very ironic because I started seeing this unfold before my eyes. We're helping individuals reach their highest potential, and yet she was, in a sense, the energy was bullying, was speaking negative, and was making and trying to convince everyone in the room to see what she was saying she was seeing in me, which is someone that was dramatic, which I could be dramatic, but someone that basically is fake, and that I wear multiple masks. That was something she was saying, that I wear multiple masks, and that essentially it sounds like I'm that good that I could win an Oscar by being fake, and that she guarantees that I have never done anything for no one, that I'm an opportunist that takes advantage of people, and that it's all about me, essentially a narcissist. I was blown away, like I was saying earlier, because I had just gotten back from Mexico doing charity work. But, you're completely off with your, prediction or your intuition synopsis about me. And so, but the painful part is how here I am being extremely vulnerable. Whether if I had multiple masks, that's a different story. But here I am being extremely vulnerable in front of people. It's already hard to be in front of people, speaking what you're desiring out of your life, and then yet be targeted, bullied. That's exactly how it felt. It felt like I was being targeted. It felt like I was being bullied. And then she persuaded others in the room to believe the way she was believing, and to believe and to see what she was supposedly seeing. And you can tell that the room initially got confused, and then they jumped on board like sheeps, just following, And so I'm not going to lie to you. I felt very hurt. I felt very confused. I felt in shock. That's the word. I felt in shock. I was in shock of what was happening. I just wanted to get off stage, but also I wanted to explain myself. Like, no, I disagree, because and she wouldn't let me explain myself of how, no, I don't think you're right, because then she would interrupt me and say, see, you're justifying yourself. You're justifying. And then she proceeded to explain to the class how that is a technique that we use to not see all our masks. I'm going to be very honest with you. It was very, very, very traumatizing for me, to the point where when I got off stage, I felt humiliated. I felt shame. I felt bullied. I felt targeted. I felt like everyone changed their energy towards me. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, I do have a magnetic energy that I had people curious about me, but the energy had shifted, almost like people, that's how easily people can get brainwashed. When you perceive someone to know the truth, or you think, or you perceive that that person should know, is more aware, we tend to kind of follow without really asking ourselves, is what she's saying, could that be the truth? But what was very interesting is that I got this feeling that it was a personal attack, like she got triggered with me. But anyway, that's a different story. The point of this video is that I use this to my advantage, how this painful experience turned into a powerful one. But mind you, I still had 2 more days to attend and look at the people. 2 more days to be around this very uncomfortable situation, because I'm not gonna lie to you. It felt like 30 minutes or 40 minutes worth of her attacking me, of her using me as examples, trying to convince the rest of the attendees to see what she was seeing. It was horrible. It was horrible. So all that to say that when I got home, because I was still in my depressed mode, like I was barely getting out of it, but yet still depressed. Literally, I was contemplating, should I go back? Should I go back to this self-empowering, self-healing workshop, right? And I say this like this because it's like, this shouldn't be happening to people, you know? Like, how did this happen to me? And it was literally, I was the only person that was targeted to this degree. I mean, we're talking about, it was an aggressive approach that this instructor took. It was extremely aggressive, very, very painful. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I literally felt like a victim. I literally felt if I would have been as depressed as I was several months prior to that event, she could have pushed me to take my life. I mean, this is why it's so dangerous. I literally felt terrible. I was contemplating, should I go back? Or should I just face it, you know? And of course, I'm going to be honest, my ego said, no, I'm not going to give her that power. I did feel targeted. I was the only one that was treated like that, to that degree. I don't think I want to give her that power. I want to go back there and appear like everything's fine. Yes, it was an ego, what, you know, my pride, so to speak, kicked in and said, no, I'm not going to let her win. I'm going to go back there and she's not going to, bully me out of the next 2 days of workshop. And I'm going to be honest with you. When I went back, it was hard. And I put that face of, I can do this. And what was more painful is that this group of people who initially felt like a community no longer felt like a community. No longer. In fact, I felt like everyone was using what she was saying against me. And it's like, wow, the power of adopting other people's beliefs if you perceive that they are more aware or that they have the answers. And so we tend to just agree without really introspecting and asking yourself all the right questions. But everyone was essentially treating me like the way she had perceived me. And it sucked. It felt like I was ostracized. It felt like I was rejected. It felt like I was just being pushed away. Granted, it could have been my depression telling me that, but it did indeed feel like I was just being rejected. I was being pushed away. I was being shamed. That's how it felt. It felt like I was being shamed. When everything ended, I did tell myself, I had a conversation with myself and I said, okay, Josie, either we allow this to sink us even deeper, this experience, or do we begin to apply what we know to be, which is the law of mirroring, the law of attraction, because I apply it to everything that happens in my life. is if I'm attracting this wonderful experience before me, it's a mere reflection of what's happening internally. If I'm attracting, or if I'm become aligned with something painful, then it means there's something inside of me that is in conflict, that is in pain, and now it's manifesting in my external reality. So I ask myself, what are you choosing to believe right now? Are you going to let this affect you, and are you going to sink deeper into depression? Or are you going to say, let's see how what she's saying could be true? Can you believe that? So I said to myself, if I was the only one that was treated like this, how can this kind of be true? In other words, how could I have been a match to this? What's happening internally that I'm not seeing? What's occurring inside that I'm not wanting to see or admit to or tell the whole truth about? She mentioned, and I'm going to repeat this because this is what stuck out. It was masks. You're wearing many masks and you're being fake. Well, it stuck to me. I said, okay, what she ultimately is saying is that I'm not being extremely truthful about me. I'm only seeing a part of me. I'm only wanting to associate myself with with a me that I deem right, acceptable by society and by me. And I'm denying, rejecting, suppressing, ostracizing aspects of me that I deem the problem, wrong, shameful, etc. And so I said, if I became a vibrational match to this experience, then there is parts of me that I'm not seeing, that I'm not choosing to see unintentionally, obviously, unconsciously, obviously. So I said, maybe this is my opportunity to try to dive into aspects of me that I'm not seeing, or that I'm not wanting to see, or that I'm afraid to see. And let me tell you, family, the moment that I did this, the moment that I said this, I began, for the following weeks and months, I began to attract more incidences and opportunities for me to see the truth. To see the whole truth, not just the truth I preferred to be associated with, not the truth I preferred to be, but the whole truth. The other truth that motivated me to be the truth that is keeping me alive, the truth that is keeping me, or that I'm coping life through. Basically, I started realizing, uncovering, unveiling aspects of me that I was disassociated with, that I did not want to love, that I did not want to accept as a part of me, that I did not want to reclaim. But they were me. They were inside of me, you see. So ultimately, she was a very loud aspect of me that was trying to tell me that I was gaslighting myself, that essentially I was wearing masks. And yes, I was wearing coping mechanism masks and personalities that are helping me cope through life. And so she wasn't wrong. Her delivery was terrible. Her delivery was very damaging. But could it have possibly been the right form of delivery for me to dive deeper? For me to say, could what she's saying hold some truth? The fact that it happened to me, the fact that I became aligned to that painful, horrible experience, could there be a form of truth behind this? Yes, she was right. I learned that I was wearing masks to cope. And according to the circumstance that I'm in, I embody a specific mask to cope that specific circumstance. So, yeah, I wasn't being authentic. I wasn't being fully authentic. Again, could there have been a better delivery? Absolutely. Because if I wasn't as aware as I am, I would have never taken her perception of me into consideration. Never. I would have pushed her away furthermore and possibly taken my life. I know it sounds deep, but that's exactly how damaging it was. But the fact that I was self-aware enough to know the law of attraction exists, the law of mirroring is constantly in effect, 24/7, every hour on the hour, I cannot, exempt this experience from that, law. This too falls in the law of mirroring. So what is there to be understood? What am I mirroring, right? What's happening inside of me that's creating this reflection? Very painful reflection. Yeah, it was that I was denying painful aspects of me. Aspects that I felt were too shameful for me to remember, to reclaim, to even be associated with. But the irony is that they were me. They are me, and they were inside of me. These aspects of me that I disconnected from, essentially. So, yeah, I wanted to share this story because it's interesting, how I too like to apply my own teachings all the time. If I encounter an uncomfortable situation, if I become a match to a crazy ass situation in my external reality, I always ask myself, how did I attract this? Or what's happening inside of me that this is a reflection of me? So I use that technique. In what way am I operating internally? In what way am I treating myself to where I have now became aligned, a match to what's happening externally? I always do this. If I believe in the law of attraction, I cannot just be picky. I can't just say, this applies to that, but that doesn't. No, everything applies to the law. So, yeah, I invite you with this story of mine, with this personal story, I invite you to go back into your memory bank and think of any times in which you felt things have happened to you, to where it felt like they were happening to you, not for you. And then ask yourself, mind you, try to get the most painful experience that you were a match to, or the most painful experience you had encountered in your life. And then ask yourself, how could I have aligned with this? What is happening inside of me that this experience, this external experience, is wanting me to see? Yeah, what's happening internally in which this external experience before me wants me to see? That is the question that I want you to ask yourself. Don't choose different. I know it's easy for you. Trust me, I was there. I know it's easier to say, it's them. They did this. It's easier, but it's not empowering, because you will always feel an attachment to that. In other words, if it was a very painful experience and you blame them for doing this to you, trust me, if you don't find true resolve, you're always going to be thinking of it. You're always going to be feeling it. You're going to try to ignore it. You're going to try to block it, but somehow you're going to find yourself being attached to that, constantly thinking about it. Yeah, because you're not understanding the memo. You're not getting the memo behind it. You're not listening to the call. Guys, everything is talking to you. Everything in your external reality is talking to you. We just have to learn how to listen and decode, how to listen and feel and feel into yourself. Feel whatever emotion that thing is making you feel. Don't run from it, but feel. Because I promise you that when you start asking yourself those questions, if you don't come up with the answer, you will. You will attract the answer into your reality, as I did. You will attract your answer. Somehow you will run across a book, a quote, a person, a self-help guide, you will find the answer. You will become a match to your answer. But you first have to start thinking in that vibration, in that wavelength, in that perspective, in that desire of wanting to, become self-aware. So, back to the story. The woman, then I learned that a couple of months later, but that self-help leader got fired. And so I'm very interested. I was interested to know why. What was it that got her fired? But definitely that approach, not effective. Thankfully, again, as I said, that this happened to me, someone that already had enough awareness to say, I'm going to take responsibility of this. If I'm the only person in that class out of like 50, 60 people to have been treated such way, how and what way could I have been a match to this? And I know she too was a match to me because, again, not to get into details, I can feel that I was triggering her with her own insecurities. But all that to say is that I took ownership of my side because I felt devastated. I felt misheard. I felt misunderstood. I felt, again, all these things were what I was really feeling. I've been carrying with me. I have always been felt misunderstood. I have always felt targeted as a child. I was always feeling like no one understood me. So she was only reflecting in aspects of me. She was only reflecting aspects of me and other aspects of me that I split from, that I wanted no part of, that I wanted to shame, push away, not remember to survive, right? So I just wore these masks to cope, as she said. We're all wearing masks to cope for us to survive our childhood environment, and we're still carrying them. So if you're in the self-help journey, it is our responsibility to realize that we are carrying masks. We have adopted personalities to keep us safe. But there's a moment where these masks are personalities that are keeping us safe to survive, right? Are now a detriment, are now hindering us, are hurting us. And it's calling for us to face the truth. The whole truth, not just one side of the truth, but the whole truth. And sometimes that's very hard. Not sometimes, most of the time, it's very hard to face the whole truth and feel into the truth. Because when you face something, emotions follow suit, right? And those are the thing that we're trying to avoid, is the emotion aspect attached to the truth, the whole truth, so to speak. So again, I invite you to use this story of mine, right? This dramatic story of mine, and apply it to you, and ask yourself, in what moment in my life did I ever feel devastated? And then once you recall that memory, ask yourself, what is this trying to tell me? If this experience is teaching me something about me, what am I supposed to understand? What am I supposed to hear? What am I supposed to feel? What am I supposed to unveil from this circumstance? Because if I was a vibrational match to this, if I became aligned with this, if I was a match, then that means we're sharing similar frequencies, okay? That means we're vibrating similarly, even though we're not trying to even though, let's say, we don't think we don't think that what they're doing is similar, or it's happening internally, or it's a reflection of us. But if you're a match to that, if that's what's happening externally, then there's a similarity here. You're just not aware, right? That's the point. The point is to become self-aware of it. so to heal, so to become really more authentic and continue the journey of becoming more authentic and more real and more honest with yourself, so you can really respect yourself. Because if we're not fully authentic with ourselves, and I'm still in the journey of being authentic, we're all going to be in the journey of becoming more authentic. As long as you're human, you're going to be in that road forever. But it feels, each time you integrate, it feels better. So don't get discouraged. It always feels better. It always gets better. And it gets better every time you heal more aspects and you reclaim more aspects of yourself instead of suppressing them. Yeah. So if you have any questions, people, send me them, private message me, put them down there. I would love to hear your story and maybe shine light, right? If you tell me, if you share with me a situation that you might have encountered, I could potentially give you an idea of what you're experiencing internally that you may not be aware of. With all the love and full acceptance, Josie.